Hello, hello. Dr. LaDonna Parker is here with us today, and we are going to find out what this phenomenal woman is really all about. What does Dr. LaDonna do? What is her purpose in life? Where has she been? And where is her goals taking her to next? And you know what? We're already, Dr. Lawana, it's hard to say, but we are already midway through 2024. It is remarkable how time has flown this year. So,
Mm.
Dr. Lawana Parker, tell us about you. What have you done during your life that you are the most proud of?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to be a part of this interview. Uh, wow, this next important part of this year, I should say. I have all these plans that are put in place. I just have to implement them now. Some workshops coming up, a couple of speaking engagements for the rest of the year. But like most people, I started out not knowing where I was and where I wanted to be. I had some idea, but I had a lot of negatives in there that kept telling me, "Don't waste your time." Uh, Unfortunately, that stops so many of us from getting where we want to be. Thankfully, I met some people who pushed me and said, "You can do this. We're behind you," and that's what's important. So I encourage everybody find a coach, a mentor, a community network of people that can support you and be there for you. Mhm.
Oh, that's beautiful. And you know what? You're right. I tell everyone needs a coach, a mentor, a strategist, everyone. Even if you are one, you still need one. Because, Dr. Lawana, I have found over the years, one little word, one little twist can change your entire outlook in life as a coach, a mentor, as an author. So,
Mhm.
Dr. Lawana, I know that you love to blog. Just so that everyone knows, Dr. Lawana has finally gotten me into the habit of blogging. I tried doing the blogging every day, and I did it for several days, and then it fell apart. But so I didn't meet my goal about doing it every day, Dr. Lawana, like you do. But you know what you did inspire me is to continue to blog, even though it didn't work out the way I visioned. I'm still blogging a couple of times a week. And I feel blessed about teaching others because when I blog, I'm teaching someone something when they read it. So tell us, when did you really start blogging and or journaling? And are you still doing it?
Well, the blogging started in 2020, officially started 2020. Before then, it was blog. 2 months later, oh, I got a blog. I need to post something. So I really couldn't call it blogging then. Like most people with COVID, I needed something to do and I started blogging. I love teaching, I love learning new things, and I love sharing what I learned. I took this 31-day challenge, which turned out to be great for me. I thought if I could do it for 31 days, that would be good. Then I know I can do it a couple of times a week. Only I realized at the end of the 31 days, I wanted to continue. So that's what I did. But as I told the people on my blog, okay, I don't have a specific category for you to look at. When you come here, there's no telling what I might be talking about. It could be about me and my family. It could be about building confidence, staying motivated, overcoming doubts and fears, whatever crossed my mind, whatever new information I learned, I'll share it here. So majority of the people who come, they know uh, it's going to be a surprise as to what they find. That helps me. It helps me to grow. It also, after a while, taught me how to be more vulnerable, opening myself up. Uh, because I I've always been a loner, and I've always been the person people came to. And I didn't know how to let people know when I was hurting because I had to be strong for them. And I've learned to share some things over there. So yes, that's been great. The journaling actually came a couple of years. Well, I was going to say a couple of years, but no, it came in 21. And right after the Christmas holidays, I had gotten really sick, and I kept hearing this word journal going around in my head. I don't know about you, but have you asked God, what's my purpose? Why am I here? What is it you want me to do? And I've done it so much that I honestly believe that the Lord said, okay, I've told you and you haven't listened, so I'm just going to knock you flat on your behind where you can't think about anything else. And then I'm going to tell you what I want you to do. And so I figured, well, he wants me to get into journaling. And that's what I started doing. And I didn't realize just how beneficial journaling is. It's not just putting your thoughts on paper and then coming back and reading and go, oh, yeah, what I need to add to this. No, it helps you to think. It helps you to learn about yourself. You grow, you become a little more confident as you put things in there. And you don't have to keep that stuff. You can get rid of it. But it's kind of nice to go back and say, this is where I was. I am so happy I'm not there anymore.
This is so true. And Dr. Lawana, I want to go into this a little bit deeper because I know it's not really journaling, but it kind of, sort of is in a way in my mind. So maybe it is in others. I experienced a horrible childhood trauma with my parents, mentally, physically, psychologically, sexually. And I remember when I finally decided I must go see a therapist was many years later. Okay. I had already had my children. And you know, the very first thing that the therapist said is write your dad a letter. You're not going to give it to him. You're just going to write it because it's really not for him, it's for you.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's like journaling. I don't know if you would see it as journaling since you're a professional journalist person, but for me, it was so uplifting and it felt like a weight was lifted, even though he didn't read it and he has no idea about it. It helped me come out of the cobwebs, out of the door, and being able to share my feelings that I had never been able to share before.
And that is so true. I did the same thing. I didn't have your experience, but I was going through some things that had really depressed me. And I kept trying to convince myself that I was okay. Eventually, I just felt I needed to write it. And so I started writing it down. And I will admit, a lot of it was rant and raving and didn't really make any sense, but I needed to get that stuff out of me. But here's what happened for me was when I went back and read and I got past all of my griping, I found some nuggets in there. I found that there was a problem that I was dealing with and didn't know how to deal with it. And now I needed to come up with a way to get out of that situation, which forced me to think of what can I do to change my situation. The result was I came up with 5 steps of things that I need to do or recognize about me. And to make a long story short, it turned into a book. That became the first book that I actually published with my name on the cover. Um, so journaling is a great way of discovering who you are, discovering some of the things that are holding you back that maybe you're not admitting to. Um, One of the things I found out was that I was my own worst enemy. You know, People could tell me about what I could and couldn't do. Didn't mean I had to listen, but I did. I not only listened, but I added on. Someone said, "Oh, girl, you're gonna write a 200-page book. Just what are you gonna put in a 200-page book? What do you know?" Well, instead of me saying something like, "Well, there are experiences I've had that nobody else had that I could share." Oh no! As soon as I got to myself, I go, they're right. What do I know? I just be wasting my time and making myself look like a fool. So I was my worst enemy. And I'm sure there are probably others who have felt the same if they stop and think about it. That's
Absolutely.
the person you got to kick out the way. You
Yes.
then got to get her past it.
Yes. And Dr. Luana, I think the majority of us, if we sit and think, if we're not now, sometime in our life, we have been our worst enemy. We are the ones that will get up and think about all the negative things about ourselves rather than looking at the positive things. And in living in the lives that similar to what you and I are doing, when we're trying to teach other people things, we think differently in that manner now is because we want to come off as a positive role model, a positive, laughing, smiling person. Not that we don't have negative things around us and life things going on in our lives. We just turn it around so it doesn't seem as overbearing as what,
Mhm.
my 30-year-old self thought completely different than myself today. Things don't rattle me as much because, see, I've experienced 30 more years of life since then and
Mhm.
overcame so many obstacles, so many curveballs that I'm just thankful that I'm here today to be able to live my life with my high school sweetheart, my best friend for 40 plus years, and my children, my two beautiful daughters, and my grandchildren. But 30 years ago, you don't think like that, right? You don't think like that. So we
Oh,
overcome things. But Dr. Luana, you said something about your first book. How many books have you written now?
well, I've done two since then, and I'm currently working on one. Uh, the working title is Dare to Dream. That's the working title. But I love writing. I love expressing, myself and getting my words out there. So I do that quite a bit. But the greatest thing, I don't know if you know it or not. Most people by now, I think, are aware of how much I love reading romance stories. Now, I should be writing romance stories, but instead, but I keep saying, but you've only had one real romance. I mean, the others were, dropaways. You only had one. So what are you going you gonna tell? What are you gonna put in a romance story?
Dr. Luana, I
But
think
one
you
of
should
these
come up
days,
with
I am going to publish a romance story.
you go. You're going to do it. You're going to do it. And Dr. Luana, I bet you could come up with an entire series of books about romance because romance comes from anywhere and everywhere, right? They look different, So, yes, we can come up with things. We just have to think positive. Dr. Luana, this has been great sitting here and talking to you and just finding out what Dr. Luana Parker is really about. And I think you've done such a great job telling our audience who you are. So, if one thing that you could do to help others, what would that be, Dr. Luana?
It would be to have a dream. Doesn't matter what the dream is, have that dream and go after it. Don't let anything or anyone, including yourself, stop you from going after your dream.
Absolutely. And that is a beautiful ending to this interview. I am LaDonna McAbee with Networking Expert. I am so happy to be your host today and have our guest speaker, Dr. Lawana Parker, in the house. Thank you for listening and see you next time.